invite you to come and take your seats. We're ready for our program to begin. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Happy Sabbath and welcome back home to UCA. We have a lot of special things planned for you this weekend, and we have a group of staff and prayer guardians that are surrounding this weekend in prayer, praying that you will be blessed in a very special way. Before our seniors lead us in a couple of songs that our speaker has requested, I would like to share a short thought from a book by Sarah Young called God's Calling. I'd like you to imagine that God is inviting you on a long walk, perhaps a hike, if you will, and he begins this way. Come, follow me on an amazing trip. All you need to worry about is just one step at a time. In fact, it's really the only way to make it. I'm warning you that you may see huge mountains looming up ahead, and I know you well enough to know that your immediate reaction is to start worrying on how you're going to scale those heights. Meanwhile, because you're not looking where you're going and you're busy borrowing trouble, you stumble on the clear path where I am leading you right now. I know you're worried about the cliffs up ahead, but you don't know that your path isn't going to take a turn. Maybe it won't go straight up that mountain. It could be that your path will lead you to an easier way that is not visible to you right now. But if I do lead you up that cliff, I will equip you thoroughly for the stressful climb. I will even give my angels charge over you to preserve you in all the things that you do all the way to the top. Just enjoy the journey with me right now and trust me to open the way before you. These thoughts were taken from Psalm 18, Psalm 91, and 2 Corinthians 5. Please bow your heads with me as we welcome the Sabbath. Lord, thank you for this Sabbath evening. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for the beautiful music that we have already enjoyed. Thank you for what you have planned for us yet tonight. I pray that you will bless Joyce as she shares with us about journeying through life with her walking sticks. And I pray that you will bless Moses as he has a visit with us about some of his conversations with God. I pray that you will make us open to your Spirit tonight and give us the grace and the gumption to follow you all the way to the top. Amen. We have some great-looking seniors over here, and they are going to lead us in two songs. I would also like to thank Janelle Dixon for playing our prelude music tonight and our UCA string quartet for the music while you were enjoying your refreshments. Thank you again for coming.
Good evening. Our first song tonight is This Is My Father's World.
Nature
next song is I Sing the Almighty Power of God.
I sing the mighty power of God that made the mountains rise, that spread the flowing seas abroad and built the lofty skies. I sing the wisdom that ordained the sun to rule the day. The moon shines full at His command, and all the stars obey. I sing the goodness of the Lord that filled the earth with food. He formed the creatures with His word and then pronounced them good. Lord, how your wonders are displayed wherever I turn my eye. If I survey the ground I tread or gaze upon the sky, there's not a plant or flower below but makes your glories known. And clouds arise and tempests blow by order from your throne. While all that borrows life from you is ever in your care, and everywhere that we can be, you, God, are present there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Emily Poole, and I wanted to add my welcome to you guys on behalf of the class of 2004, which is the 10-year class. So it's been 10 years since I was here in this gym going to school, and I'm kind of envious of you seniors and juniors and freshmen and sophomore who are getting to experience this still. It's so fun. In addition to being one of the honored classes, I also have the honor of introducing our featured speaker for the evening. Joyce Wilkins is the author of 2 books of photography, poems, and prose. The first is entitled Teacup, Art and Reflections, and the second entitled Walking Stick, Wanderings and Wonderings. Joyce is a fast and precise wedding dress seamstress, a skilled and shrewd thrift store shopper. She is also a constant and caring entertainer of children and an undaunted traveler and explorer of the backroads and grassy channels of northern Idaho. You may be wondering how I know our speaker so well this evening, and that's because it's my mother, and I'm pleased to introduce her. As her daughter, I feel like it's my duty to share a story with you. If you know Joyce at all, you know that she has a special eye for seeing God at work in nature. She can't help but share what she sees with others. In fact, on one family vacation, when the family was traveling through Montana, all of a sudden we happened upon a beaver who had been hit and killed. Roadkill, you and I would call it. But Joyce said, "Stop!" And she hollered and she said, "Pull over." "Oh no," my dad said, because he knew that he would not stop her. You see, my mom has always had a fascination for beavers, and she thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could take the beaver tail and show the kids in Sabbath school this beaver tail up close, and they could see that beautiful thing that God has created. Knowing that he wouldn't stop her, he said, "There's a hatchet in the back." And so out my mom got, and she went to the back of the car, and she pulled that hatchet out and went and chopped that beaver's tail off and took it home and put it in our freezer. Now, she found out later that the beaver's tail is a little too blubbery to preserve. So that really didn't go as planned. But this just represents her passion for sharing what God has created with others and wanting them to see what she sees as beautiful. Tonight, I'm excited to be here and hear what she has to say and what she's been seeing God doing lately. I have no doubt that we'll be blessed. But first, I understand that Moses himself is here to talk to us about walking with God.
Lord, it wasn't supposed to be this way. This was not what I had in mind. I mean, it was supposed to be the vast armies of Israel, and at my command, they'd be taking on those Egyptian hordes, but not like this. I mean, I had to leave, and this was all I had. And what about Zipporah? I mean, she's really never been into this Hebrew thing. She doesn't let Gershom be a son of Abraham. And I can't speak Egyptian anymore. I mean, I've been spending all my life with these sheep. Sheep? I can't lead a bunch of people. I mean, how's this going to work? I mean, the staff thing was really good, and I'm thankful that it's back. I didn't like that snake. Did not like that snake. That was not a good thing. And I am thankful that my hand is back too, but how are they going to believe that? Lord, how is this going to work? And what about Jethro? He's not going to want to let his grandkids go. I don't know, God. You've got to get somebody else. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you have looked after me. Yeah, my mother, you saved me there. I mean, to build a boat and stick it in the water, yeah, that must have come from you too. And just at the right spot so Pharaoh's daughter would find me, yeah, you had that too. But you're right, Lord. You can do anything. I guess, yes, I will trust you. This is all I came to Midian with, and you told me this is what I got to take back to Egypt because it's yours now. And you're going to take me. Whether I live, whether I die, you'll do it. I guess it's off to see Jethro in Egypt.
Okay, we're working on a projector here. There we go. Whoops. Okay. There we go. Moses, what a man of God you were. Thank you for your thoughts and for your visit. I hope I might borrow your walking stick someday. I'd like to take a journey with it. Happy Sabbath. It's great to see you. I hope you enjoy a feast of fellowship this weekend. Thank you for the students that led two of my most favorite songs. Appreciate that. Thank you for your gifts and for the orchestra students that played. That was really nice. Thank you. And thank you for your kind words. My daughter, my blessing. I do support organ donation for good causes, so you know. I do want to say tomorrow's message by Dr. Tammy McGuire will be fantastic. She is an adventurer, a lover of wild nature. She's a creative communicator. She's humorous. She's bold. And she's passionate about hanging on to God, and you will feel blessed. Now, I'm a lover of nature, wild nature. I love raindrops on pine needles. I love wild bunnies in nature. I love still waters. I love the humorous in nature. I love the delicate. I love God's reflective artistry. I love nurturing of new life in nature. I love pristine coastlines. I love raucous ocean mammals. I love the quiet and the curious. Peaks to sing from. Tiptoeing around the wily. And the majestic. And I'm really cautiously comfortable near the powerful animals on land and in the water. And most of the time, I'm bold enough to hold on to the slippery, slithery ones. But I have a big problem with the tarantula on my forehead. Now, before you think I'm showing off my prowess here with scary arachnoids, let me tell you what happened. I'd asked the pet keeper in Mexico if I could just hold this little guy. In his tourist magazine, I'd seen a picture of people holding it. Okay, so he agreed. Great. I stretched out my hand as far away from my body as I could, like in the magazine. And as the keeper slowly lifted the tarantula out of the cage, the man told me, "Now tilt your head way back." So I did as I was told, thinking he wanted my head as far away from that tarantula as possible. Next thing I know, it was right above me and sitting on my forehead. Now what would you do? Well, I just froze, and I did it. And I think God was holding my still outstretched hand. You know, God works like that sometimes in our lives. We think we know our limitations, like Moses. But sometimes God asks us to work with him on even bigger challenges beyond what we think possible for our own abilities. Now, before I share about walking sticks, I want to say that God gets all the credit for the projects I'm going to talk about. He's the inspiration, he's the miracle worker, he's the one that opened doors and gave others courage to share their stories. These words are from Jesus, and Linnea quoted from one of my favorite books. Words from Jesus paraphrased by Sarah Young in Jesus Calling. He said, "I am creating something new in you, a bubbling spring of joy. Do not try to take credit for it in any way. Instead, watch as my spirit flows. Let yourself become a reservoir of the Spirit's fruit. Do your part just to live close to me, open to all that I am doing. Don't try to control the streaming of my spirit. Just keep focused on me as we walk through this day together. Enjoy my presence, which permeates with love, joy, and peace." Now, before I talk about walking sticks, I just have to briefly talk about teacups. Sorry. About 10 years ago, I attended a grand tea party. Every person brought a teacup, and we went around the room, and everybody told their story about why this teacup was important and why they brought it. And as I'm listening around the room to all these stories, I realized I was becoming closer to every woman in that room just by hearing their stories. Wow. And that these artful cups were the catalysts to creating conversation, becoming friends, and sharing deeper thoughts. wow, I really, really felt compelled to start a ministry like this. I really wanted to do this. So I began collecting cups with stories, and I asked God to join me before each shopping excursion. After 8 years, I had enough cups, and so not to forget the stories, I started to photograph them and document the stories. Well, a few friends said, "Oh, you got to put these in a book." Yeah, right. I politely acknowledged their comments and then dismissed them, knowing my ancient computer skills were really not up to par for that kind of job. But I started feeling the Holy Spirit nudge me, and yes, a book could reach more people than my suitcase full of teacups could. And if the pages could be subtly intertwined with artistic expression and inspirational messages, then maybe a book could travel a bigger, broader road than just to the Christian bookstores. So, after many talks with God and a mammoth steep learning curve and some open doors, God paved the road for a teacup book. A few months later, God nudged again. "What about all those walking sticks your husband's collected?" Oh boy. Yes, they hold a lot of stories. I'd need a few more. Many people use unique walking sticks, and if you meet them and you're brave enough on the sidewalk to say, "I love your stick," they'll always give you a story, and then conversation opens. Yes, I think God can use walking sticks. Didn't he use one to part the Red Sea? To split a rock and open a gushing spring in the desert? To show his power by turning one into a live snake? So God and I set out hunting, again, for some walking sticks and stories. So, here are some stories and photos and life applications from Walking Sticks Wanderings and Wonderings. These walking sticks originate from Alaska, Hawaii, Priest Lake, Idaho, Madagascar, Japan, Africa, Saudi Arabia, the desert, the ocean, the world's tallest mountains, and lonely riverbanks. Here's an example of 2 types of wood carving, all carved into one stick. The balls in the cage have to be carved inside the cage, whittled together and forever bound. The chips, 3 cuts for each chip popped out. Looks really hard, but it's a pretty easy one to carve. The spiral pattern is patterned by wrapping a strip of paper around and down the stick, marking it with a pencil, and carving out a gully in between the lines. The relief carving is carving away the background of the design. So you have a small lesson in wood carving. This is an eagle claw walking stick made from an old clawfoot piano stool. Some of you might recognize that. They're antiques. Walk in freedom, my children, and be mindful of he and she who sacrificed much for your freedom journey. The next stick is a Harry Lauder walking stick bush. Anybody have a bush like that in their garden? Yeah, I see no hands. Well, okay, that's why I had a hard time finding a bush in Spokane. I looked at Manitou Gardens, I looked at the restaurants and other places, but I'm sure none of those people wanted to share a stick that fat with me off their bushes. So finally, after going to a nursery, I found somebody in Seattle who had a stick that harvested for me. The Harry Lauder walking stick bush is called just that. It was named after a Scottish entertainer who sang and performed with a twisted stick for World War I troops under fire in France. Some call him Scotland's beloved ambassador. The bush is very, very slow growing, so I really appreciated somebody harvesting that special stick for me. These sticks you may have seen, I call them the healing sticks. Evidence of healing is everywhere in nature, reminding us that when bad things happen, there are avenues to become whole again. Well, I discovered a healed stick like these while I was bushwhacking up a mountain called Goblin's Knob. What a find. They're really not very common, and I had a bunch of boulders that I had to climb before I reached the top, so I didn't want to carry the stick with me the whole time. So I decided to place the stick horizontal in between 2 spindly trees, thinking that I would find it on my way back. Well, you can probably guess the end to this story. I searched and searched 20 minutes to no avail, couldn't find it, and I left the woods disappointed. I've hiked to Goblin's Knob many times afterward, always hoping I might find that treasure. But as I wrote the page of the book, I said, I've got to let this go. I decided to stop being disappointed and just savor the idea that somebody else had a moment of joy at the finding of my prize. And that is a better way to live. The next walking stick I want to talk to you about is a Native American flute walking stick. And I actually have one here. Now, I didn't even know such a thing existed. So would you like to hear it? Okay. It's pretty cool. Here we go. All right. There's a star on this and a feather. The Native American artist told me the feather is to tell the direction of the wind, a star to guide you, and a song to cheer your heart. Music in nature is just such a blessing. The next stick is a cactus walking stick. And cactus just have such unique patterns. If you'll look, and you can just see this beautiful rhythm going on. This is a special stick because what they did was they took the spikes that come out of this cactus and they pound them inward. It's hollow inside, so the spikes are all inside. Then they fill the top with beans or seeds, and this one they capped it with a handle. And then, if you tip it upside down, makes the sound of beautiful rain or a rascally rattlesnake. You pick. I have another true story about a lady that I met, and here's how it goes. It's a story about being positive in adversity. I met a woman at the beach. She's neither young nor old, and I became quite taken with the story that she told. An injury had left her with a back now wrought with pain, and now she isn't happy that she has to use a cane. But brightly she adorns her crutch with such frivolity, so children will not notice much her disability. While often wrapped with bows or bells, or maybe flashy sash, her cane becomes the envy of the children in her path. They glance and stop, and then exclaim, "I want a cane like hers!" And dialogues would start to flow, most touching, she assures. So now she sees her altered health as opening a door to conversations unsurpassed with people under 4. God is such a creative artist, and because I've already shocked you with one bug, I'm sure you won't mind seeing another. This is a walking stick bug. You imposter! We can see you are really not a tree, not a branch or crooked twig, but a bug 12 inches big. In hot tropics there you walk, so disguised on leaf and stalk. You can come up afterward and see him, dead and mounted. A number of years ago, our church participated in a mission trip to Madagascar. How many have been on a mission trip, even short term? Awesome, awesome. Wow, a lot of hands. Well, Madagascar is at the southern tip of Africa. So we did medical work, dental work, holding meetings, things that missionaries do, and being changed by the experience. Well, when I go places like that, I like to exchange an artful memento from my culture. And so this time I brought with me a small watercolor painting of lemurs. They're only native to Madagascar. So I found a local craft shop, and using makeshift sign language, I asked if there was a person who could carve me a walking stick with a lemur on the handle. I left the painting and wondered if I'd been understood. Later, a message came to me that yes, there would be a walking stick waiting for me at the end of our trip. Wahoo! 3 weeks later, the last day of our trip, I began to wonder if the art exchange would really take place. The large arena was open to the sky, was packed with people for our final meeting. Just as the program was starting, a woman came swiftly walking all the way up to the front where I was seated. With a bow, she handed me this beautifully carved lemur walking cane. I was so excited and thankful, and we bowed and shook hands, and I hope she still has fond memories, as I do, of that cultural exchange. If you ever go overseas and do something like that, trade something artful with somebody in that culture. It's really a really fun experience and pretty bonding. Another mission experience, this was a very challenging mission post in Selawik, Alaska. Anybody been to Selawik? One. I see one. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to tell you about Selawik. This is Selawik, Alaska, in 1976. The prominent roughwood church home was planted on the riverbank. As nursing students, Julie Yeager-Sackett of the 40-year class, I believe she's right up here, we worked 3 months there where the summer sun never sets. We were the only non-Inuit people in the town. Many people wore mukluks, or Inuit boots made of caribou skin, and the walking stick has Inuit designs burned into it, and they usually tell a story. Well, not only were sticks used for walking, they were also used for drying fish, and that's Julie on the right. Some of our jobs were conducting church, Sabbath school, vacation Bible school, being available for the sick and the dying, forming friendships, using honey buckets. You can Google that. We also cared for a rambunctious dog team and 6 puppies. And because I'd been viciously attacked by a German Shepherd when I was in 6th grade, Julie, on the left, graciously offered to feed the rowdy dogs. And that's me timidly feeding their water while they were preoccupied. Well, there were no roads in Selawik, only boardwalks and paths. And the boardwalks were built up and kind of lined with really tall grass and swampy tundra. One afternoon, while Julie and I wandered the boardwalk along the river, Julie asked me, we saw 2 tipsy drunk men walking toward us. Uh-oh. So she asked me if we should step off the trail into the mucky grass and let them pass. Well, there's only room for 2 people side by side to pass. And I suggested that if we act unafraid and bold and just move to one side and walk in single file, let them have one side, that should be adequate. We got closer to them, and I whispered, "Walk bold." As we implemented my brilliant plan, one of them reached out and grabbed me. Adrenaline now pulsing through me, I fought off his grip, and Julie and I walked on in stunned silence for about 20 steps. Then she whispered, "Got any more good ideas?" Yes, life's road will have bumps, ruts, muddy puddles, and sometimes crevasses. But no matter, God promises to lift you up, carry you through, and He offers peace in His arms. The next stick shows a picture of homeless man Roosevelt Wilkerson. He was homeless and started coming to a Dallas, Texas shelter. The shelter offered daytime activities. Roosevelt liked to gather riverbank sticks and carve on them. The director suggested he carve something meaningful on them. So Roosevelt began carving a shortened version of the 10 Commandments. And so his sticks became known as the Moses sticks. Well, Susan, pictured there as well, a volunteer at the shelter, freely offered to ship his sticks so he could afford a studio apartment for he and his wife. What a great thing. Susan also happened to be very good friends with the daughter of Vice President George Bush. The daughter purchased 2 Moses sticks for her then President father. The president took one with him to Rome and presented it as a gift to the Pope. It made TV news, and the Moses sticks were instantly in high demand by stick collectors and are now found in numerous homes across the United States. So once homeless, Roosevelt is thankful, and he feels very fulfilled sharing his craft. To stay in his apartment, he needs to carve and sell 15 sticks a month. Susan's gift of time has made a life-changing experience and a life-changing difference for Roosevelt. The walking stick book is being offered to over 475 patrons who own his sticks, and Roosevelt will receive a large portion of the proceeds from those sales. So I thought it would be really nice to give the former President of the United States a walking stick book as a thank you for making the stick so popular for Roosevelt and making it an inspiring story for the book. But you can't just give a former president a gift. You know that, right? Well, I didn't. There's a protocol to be followed. Susan, the volunteer, arranges to have lunch with her friend, the daughter of former President Bush. During the lunch, Susan casually introduces the book to her friend and suggests that the former president might enjoy it. The daughter glances back at the Secret Service agent, who thinks for a minute and then gives a nod. Yes, the book can be accepted. And off it goes to the home of former President George Bush. Well, this is a ruffed diamond willow stick. Anybody have a diamond willow in their yard? Diamond willow bush? Well, they really only grow pretty much in Alaska, Canada, Minnesota, and Michigan, probably because they get more moisture there. The diamond refers to the angular indentions found in the wood, indentions thought to be made by a fungus which attacks the insert of the branch, causing it to die back and form a canker. It takes a lot of carving to make the diamond willow walking stick look exquisite. So, here are the finished sticks. They're very expensive. You know the phrase, a diamond in the rough, referring to a person who has great potential but just hasn't discovered their abilities or developed them? Well, the origin of that phrase, of course, is referencing precious diamond stones dug out of the earth in their natural state. Valuable, but rough, dirty. When they're cut, shaped, formed, and polished, they're exquisite. It's the same with the diamond willow sticks. And that's how we are too. Each of us, a superb, valuable piece of God's creation, but flawed. When we allow ourselves to be shaped, loved by Jesus, then we're a masterpiece in his eyes. The next stick is a bamboo walking stick. I found some really great bamboo walking sticks in a coastal city, but they just seemed a little too expensive for me, and for some reason, I just didn't feel comfortable purchasing one then, so I decided to wait, even though I really, really wanted one. The following day, I made a trek to the beach, and I was delighted to find this well-traveled bamboo walking stick washed up in the dry sand, a lovely gift from the sea. In Oregon, you may have seen this Cannon Beach bungalow, hugged by sticks. Once drifters on the ocean, these sticks now have an artistic and functional purpose. How many of you have a walking stick from your grandparent or parent, a loved one? Raise your hand if you have a walking stick that you have saved that's important to you, has good memories. Good. I think a lot of people do that. For some reason, walking sticks really represent a history, a past, a love, maybe because your loved one had their hand on it and was holding it much of their life, and they're very special. Well, this walking stick belonged to my grandmother, my mom's mom. She came to know Jesus later in life, and her changed life was a witness to her children and her grandchildren. We called her Granny, and this is her story. My walk through this life was not easy, but still I savored it. It began in Arizona with 3 brothers and my loving parents. My mother could only read Spanish. When I was just barely 15, she unknowingly signed my marriage license, thinking she was signing for a package. Now married, I worked in the traveling circus as a snake charmer, and the lady who contorts herself in the sword box when swords are thrust in. After several years, I took my 2 girls and I set out to change my life. I met Frank and married him. Our children, 7 of them, adored Daddy. When our youngest was just 3 years old, Frank tragically died in a car accident. This was my greatest sorrow. I was 49. To provide for my beloved family, I sold chickens, flowers, and shoes. I became a hairdresser, school bus driver, and maternity nurse. I met Jesus, and he was my strength, my family, my greatest blessing. Granny Ruby. Pray for your children that they follow the path planned by Jesus. So important to pray for them. They will need your encouragement because soon their little tiny feet will chasms cross and peaks defeat. And though God can do very, very big things, sometimes he calls you just to slow down and take baby steps in order to accomplish some of those big things. I want to thank you for letting me share Walking Sticks and some of their stories. In closing, this is a message that comes to Jesus for you via the Bible and paraphrased again by Sarah Young in Jesus Calling. Pour all your energy into trusting me. It's through that trust that you stay connected to me and aware of my presence. Every step on your life journey can be a step of faith. Baby steps of trust might seem simple for you. You can take them with almost unconscious ease. Giant steps are another matter altogether. Leaping across chasms in semi-darkness, scaling cliffs of uncertainty, trudging through the valley of the shadow of death. These feats require sheer concentration as well as utter commitment to me. Focus your attention on the path just ahead of you and on the one who never leaves your side. Will you pray with me? God, we ask you to lead us on the upward way, to gain new heights every day. We pray as we're onward bound, Lord, plant our feet on higher ground. Thank you for lifting us up and, like for Moses, making a way so we can stand by faith on heaven's tableland. A higher plane than we have found. Lord, please plant our feet on higher ground. And on Christ, the solid rock, we stand. All other ground is sinking sand. On Christ, the solid rock, we stand. Thank you, God. Amen. Thank you. We have some walking sticks up front that if you want to come check out some of the ones I talked about, you're welcome to. Thank you. I believe you are dismissed.
For those alumni who want to sing in the mass choir tomorrow, if you will make your way up front very shortly to sing with the choraleers, you are most welcome.